So it seems like Ghost of Tabor Dev Scott is fighting back against contractors and everything else that's happened. He's done a big Q&A with ScopeOG. The link will be in the description. The video's an hour and 8 minutes long. So what I was doing and what I'm planning on doing is just talking about a few of the points that were made in the first 20 minutes. And I got to say, it's quite a lot of them. So one random statement that he does make, which I don't really understand, is he says that we're at 1 million players. So I don't know, maybe we're at 1 million sales, if that's what he means. I'm not sure. But looking at the player count on Steam, the peak was 587 in the last sort of 30 days. And it's been pretty similar, I think, as it goes back. So I'm not too sure what he meant by that. The old system, the community was always used to test bugs. But now it goes to something called a QA, and they fix the bugs and they test it and they see what happens so that it goes to the public in a patch or however they bring it out in a better condition than it used to. So they would bring out content and let us test it basically and report all the bugs and all that kind of stuff. But now it's going to come out way more polished. That's when he mentioned the 1 million player count, because he said there may still be bugs, there will still be bugs that obviously 1 million people testing a new gun, for example, will find that one single QA person wouldn't be able to find in a couple of weeks of testing. Again, there's a lot of promises here. This is all in the first 20 minutes, like I said. So, new backpack system. He said it's going good. He said that there's an adventure bag change in the models, which is already done. You can attach helmets on one side and a gun on the other. Armor folding has just been finished, and the Q&A testing, and all the backpacks are getting a visual update. As soon as the Q&A tester says it's good, it goes in, no waiting. So they're not holding or sitting on patches or updates or whatever it may be. As soon as the Q&A tester says, yep, this is working, can't find any bugs, it gets released into the game. He mentioned a scope rework, which he said definitely is needed, and he's taking a lot of accountability on the flaws, which is nice to see. So I'm actually hopeful based on listening to the language he was using when discussing all of these things. He's hoping to hit 2 hot fixes or updates for features and bug fixes every single month. Wipes are only to introduce big new features. They're not for smaller little things, but a really big thing like a map rework or something like that would come out with a wipe. He states that last wipe was horrible, how long it took, and then how it came out, which again is decent accountability, which is nice to see. After the backpack changes, because one person's working on that, loot is next. So a ton of new items, he said. GPU remodels, GPU farm change. Then he said should take 3 weeks to a month, maybe a couple of weeks longer. Airdrop visual changes and call them in with a flare gun. The loot system is broken right now. This is what he was saying. The code is bugged out. Refactoring every bit to rebalance the loot pool. Thinking about getting rid of static spawns altogether. But he's unsure and he wants to gauge the community through polls down the line when that becomes, next on the hit list of things to do. There's a mega event planned at Wipe to make big changes, introduce a new faction, which could call the Zeros, 2 new bosses in the shopping mall, and possibly a third boss that roams somewhere, maybe on a different map. More players added to maps. Probably introduce cleaning and jamming of guns, new ammunition and things of that nature. He's hoping that we'll get 1 or 2 new guns in the next wipe. Now, this next part is very interesting and a very big change. Moving to a player-driven economy. Now, again, he's stated all of these things in the first 20 minutes of a 1 hour and 8 minute long video. It's pretty much, it's back-to-back firing out all these things. And we've had promises that aren't as drastic as this before, like leaning or whatever, that then come out and are not good. So it's so much to promise. And again, I stopped watching at 20 minutes because I thought it's just too much, too many promises. But it seems like they're fighting back at the very least. So let's look at this. Moving to a player-driven economy. In a couple of weeks for us to test and balance, this will come out. So that's not going QA the same as the other things, or maybe it's going QA and us. But we're going to be able to test and check this for balance. The only things that are in the shops are what players have sold to the shops. So if you have an M4 and you go and sell it to a specific shop and they don't have an M4 in stock, you get a premium for selling it to that shop. On the same flip side of that, a person who buys that from the shop when there's only one M4 in stock, again as an example, will have to pay a premium in order to get that because that shop's stock is low. Every single item, including keycards, will be able to be bought and sold to the shops. So this is a huge, huge change. He did mention that there may be a sort of gradual restocking at random times of certain things, if it's needed, and talking about inflating the market as well. This is going to be a huge, huge change, and I'm not 100% sure how it's going to go. I feel like that something like this is something that could just make or break the game. I don't necessarily think a lot of people need or want this. It seems a bit out of the blue, a bit random, and it kind of feels like there's better things to be working on. But it is, well, I was going to say it's down the list, but it was one of the last things he mentioned in the 20-minute segment that I watched. But I wonder if he's just going to keep mentioning things for the entire hour and 8 minutes that he wants to bring to the game. On the flip side of that, it's good that they have some plans, and it seems like they have some passion to keep it going, and get up with the competition. He mentioned an underground rework, 2 new things that are maps technically, but are not maps. Is something else that he said, and he said that maybe we can work it out from that. They're looking at expanding island. So he was mentioning the fact that rigs are very heavy on the points needed in the game. So, for example, if, really random little example, say to run a normal game with the full amount of players, you have a certain amount of points. You have 100 points. If every single person is 1 point, their gun is 2 points, their rig is 10 points, their backpack is 10 points, that stops them, because once they hit that limit, they can't add more people, they can't add more things. And the rigs and the backpacks are very heavy on that point system. So they're looking at changing that in order to add more players to maps, which goes in hand with the island expansion, making it bigger. He even mentioned as something like a dream down the line that even on Macca Underground you could go into apartments and things like that, and making all these things happen. So that's all of the things that I'm going to talk about on the things that I've seen. It's kind of hard to say. It's a bit overwhelming in terms of promises. And like I said, I think we've had a lot smaller promises than this before, which still haven't been delivered, you know. I mean, PSVR 2 still isn't out. There's lots of things that were promised that took a long time, that didn't come out. And now they've got their other games to focus on as well, like they have been, or, you know, are continuing to do so. So yeah, that was the first 20 minutes of an hour and 8 minute long video. The video link is in the description. I didn't want to go through the whole thing because at that point it makes it feel like you may as well just go and watch it come directly from the horse's mouth. I'd be interested to hear what people's thoughts are on this. Again, a lot of promises, but if they can pull all of them off, you know, fantastic. And hopefully contractors and this game can live simultaneously side by side. So yeah, thanks for listening to me ramble through some of that stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed, and again, go check out the full video if you're interested in more information. I quoted this as best as I could, and I'm not sure on a couple of things that he said, but you know, that's pretty standard with Scott. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.